On this week's show, we're discussing what every Xbox first-party studio is currently working on, our predictions for this year's Developer Direct, and has Assassin's Creed Shadows been delayed again? All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/@GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Your podcast players for this week are myself at RichieC89 and my co-host, Mr. Chris at Arcane Rogue. How the hell are you, Chris?
Happy gaming, everyone. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Before we get into the full show, I think we need to address one thing for our audience. Were you attacked by a cat?
No.
Tell the people what happened.
I was attacked by a fence. It came out of me out of nowhere. I had to defend myself.
Fence is known for being rapid apex predators, yeah.
It's a stupid story, but to get at my actual house, my house, not my girlfriend's house, to get into the garden where my bins are kept, there's a very narrow alley about the width of a wheelie bin. Pretty much my wheelie
Death
bin's...
alley, some would call it.
Yeah, pretty much my wheelie bin's touching the fence either side of it. And the dog barked as I was putting my bins out. And you know when you just turn your head to look, just a natural reaction. There was a fence post right next to my face. So, audio listeners, I have a massive scratch in the middle of my forehead. It's not subtle.
As soon as I thought that's a cat attack right there.
It wasn't.
It's good to know that it was the apex predator, the fence post.
The classic garden fence post. It's just one of them stupid things that could happen to anyone at any point, and happened. Of course, it happened to me. But
not the first time you've seriously injured yourself through a fence.
No, I broke my toe. As a kid.
Just got folks, viewers listening out there, audience.
I hate fences.
Those fences, they're out to
They're
get
just
you.
so restrictive.
Well, don't take offence.
Yeah. Gates are better. Gates give the option of being a fence, but also a door.
That's true. Multi-talented gates.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we do have a great show lined up for you, but before we get into that, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you're kept in the loop for all of our amazing content here at GamerGuildTV, such as the return of the Clickercast, eventually. We're not sure when. Last of Us Season 2 has been announced for April, so probably April the Clickercast will return in some shape or form. There might be the video playing right now. That was our new intro for the Clickercast Season 2, and as part of that, Chris, you're actually remastering the Clickercast Season 1 in a very Last of Us move.
I have, yeah. It wouldn't be a Naughty Dog IP if I didn't go back and remaster it. So yes, if you missed out on the Last of Us kind of breakdown weekly review that myself and Richie did 2 years ago now, I went back, I added the new intro in, I tweaked the audio a little bit, so hopefully it's a bit clearer, and put them up on the channel for all of our members. So if you are a Gamer Guild hero right now, you have access to all 9 episodes, remastered in their entirety, to kind of give you a good supplement heading into the new season. So if you've not watched the show, if you want another podcast to listen to on top of what we're doing now, it's there for everyone, and we will trickle out slowly closer to the launch of the wider public. But we thought we'll gatekeep it a little bit, not fence keep it, gatekeep it a little bit for our wonderful members out there for this week. And of course, we've been playing the game as well, so
we have
our
weekly live stream was The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which we started. Episode 1 is up there for everyone now, and we'll be following with episode 2 on Thursday. I don't want to talk too much about it because spoilers.
Yeah, we'll keep it. It's great. Just go watch.
Yeah, it's now spoilers for the game and also the show. And it's one of them. If you know why I don't want to go into depth about it. It's an amazing game. Mm-hmm. Everyone should play it. It's on the shelf behind me. You can probably see Ellie's eyes sticking just above my chair.
She's watching you.
She is. It puts me on edge. Keeps me focused.
DualSense edge.
He does. You have a full playthrough of The Last of Us Part 1. So if you don't have time to play and you just want to watch, you can watch through Part 1, then catch up with us playing through Part 2.
Yeah, if you're ever curious about why we won't shut up about this game, this franchise, this IP, this show, it's only just because it's some of the best video game IP ever created in the history of anything. So, go check it out.
It's definitely up there. But other than that, Chris, been playing anything interesting?
Yes, I think I touched on it during the live stream. I got the platinum in Cocoon. So, last week I said I needed like a little palette cleanser, just something small and indie to get me started for the year. I got the platinum. It took me about 5 hours. I know loads of people in our Discord chat were basically saying like it's a great little game, nice little puzzle solver. It did have me stumped a couple of times. I did have to refer to one or two guides where it's basically, I've described it as orbception, where you're a little bug and you collect coloured orbs and you have to kind of put the orbs on little turrets to unlock new areas. So it's very much like a typical puzzle mechanic. But you can go into the orb into another world, like Inception. So there's actually things like to solve a certain puzzle, you need to get a white orb, go into the green orb, take the orange orb with you into the green orb via the white orb. Like multi-layered?
Yeah.
And after a couple of layers, you sometimes sit there and just think, I don't even know where I'm at now. You need to kind of retrace your steps. And there's no dialogue, there's no direction. It's very much just, here is the layout of the map. Go figure out the puzzle using just like visual indicators and sound indicators. So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it though. Nice and refreshing, nice little palette cleanser. And just a little bit of FC24. And that is FC24. I know some folks in our chat last week were saying, does Chris mean FC25? Because he keeps saying 24. No, I saw no reason to buy this year's edition. So I'm still ploughing away. I'm like 156 hours into last year's iteration. Yeah, maybe I'll pick up 26.
The days are gone where I feel the need to buy every single FIFA game or EA FC game now.
Absolutely. Well, I bought the first one because it was the first FC game that wasn't FIFA branded. So I thought I kind of want to have it because it's the first. And then this year's rolled around and it was almost like the season had gone so quickly last year. Last year flew by that I feel like I hadn't even got my money's worth. I hadn't even finished like got to the end of my career mode where I was like fed up of it. So that just keeps ticking away.
Well, my history is I love starting a season on FC, but then I very rarely actually finish it. If I do, I very rarely go beyond one season because I tend to like going, right, I've got this idea. What's the team? I have the idea of how I want to evolve the team. And then once I've done that within a few transfer windows, I find the actual gameplay very repetitive. Every game feels the same.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't done anything with manager mode for like 10 years now.
There's not enough variety, I find, in the tactics of what your opposition play.
Yeah. And it does get to that weird point when I think earlier on today I was playing a quick game, finished the game, drew 2-2, and when you get interviewed, post-match interview?
Yeah.
And the options come up, and the option was like, how did it feel suffering that late defeat today? We drew 2-2.
Yeah,
what are you talking about, you stupid game?
Starting the bug. Have you ever done...
Starting a loose track.
Have you ever tried to use it as like a football manager light where you just simulate every game?
No, I've done that in the past where it's just like I'm short on time. I just want to quickly get through like pre-season tournaments and stuff like that. But I tend to do one or two, but I like to be hands on the sticks for the main games.
Not bad. As for me, I'm back on Meta 4. I'm getting close to the end. I think I'm in like the last chapters now. I'm looking forward to rolling credits, and then I want something small after Meta 4 to jump into before I go back to try and get the platinum, because it does require another playthrough.
Okay.
Which the another playthrough will be a lot shorter because I'm skipping every single piece of dialogue, which is probably going to save me 80 hours of the game of the playthrough. But I'm not sure what to go for. There's two games I've got in mind: Indiana Jones.
Yep.
And Batman Arkham Asylum. How long is Indiana Jones?
The Great Circle.
Yeah.
Probably, it depends because you can mainline it in probably sub 15 hours.
I can't mainline
if you want to
games. I can try, but I never manage to.
Yeah, it's because the game's built up of like a couple of open areas, and you
Yeah.
can very much just go straight to the main quest, or you can go and interact with other people in the little mini open world. So I'd say the campaign's probably less than 15. I think if you want to do everything, probably 20 to 23.
All right, that might be.
I'll guesstimate. It's not the biggest of games.
Yeah, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something in that maybe 10 to 30 hour range.
Yeah.
To just take a break from Metaphor before I go back to try and get the platinum.
Yeah, and Arkham Asylum it's that old of a game that it feels in my mind really big, but actually if you look on like how long to beat, you can actually finish the campaign in like 6 hours.
Well, my girlfriend's actually started Arkham Asylum. She's almost finished it, so I've been watching quite a bit of it. But it's a game that's always been on my list of games I want to play, because I started it before, but I think I played about 5 hours. And then I think we went on holiday for like a week or two. And then when I came back, I was just, when I can't get back into it. And then never went back to it.
That.
So it's always been on my list.
Yeah, I think it's one of the ones I've always... Between that and BioShock trilogy, I think they're like two trilogies that are like... they're waiting for that prime moment for you.
BioShock is definitely another one. But I'm thinking shorter, a bit easier experience. Like just a decent quality palate cleanser. Yeah.
I picked up 2 palette cleansers. I was in Newcastle City Centre this week, and I had to pop into CX, which I've not done in a long, long time. But I thought I keep looking on eBay to try and build my retro collection. I thought I'll pop in. I didn't realise they had like PS2 games and PS3 games and stuff still taking up quite a little bit of space. So I picked up 2 games which I did have, but I feel like I must have sold them a long time ago. So we can play Guess the Price with you in the audience. I picked up 2 games. You'll be familiar with them both. We've got Star Wars Force Unleashed.
Good game.
And we've got Far Cry 3.
Amazing game.
Which I do have, but I only have it digital. I think I got it on PlayStation Plus once upon a time.
Far Cry 3, the best of the Far Crys, because they haven't done really much since. They've just made Far Cry 3 several more times.
How much would you reckon for the PlayStation 3 copy of Star Wars The Force Unleashed then?
So it's PS3. I'm going to say £4.39.
Ooh. Comments, get them in now. £4.
Ah, nice.
See you.
If I wasn't going for a silly number.
Yeah, you would have got that if you just went for no one. So then Far Cry, as you rightly say, the best of the set. Yeah. What do we reckon for Far Cry? Same era?
So I think that's going to be slightly more than Force Unleashed, but not much. I think it's going to be £5.
£5. Coming in at a bargain price, £1.50.
Oh, wow.
Right?
You'd be stupid not to buy it.
Right? I kind of they had quite a lot, and they had a lot of like FIFA games and Just Dance games and stuff. But I thought, I know these are both great video games, and for whatever reason, I don't have them. So it was like, they're a shoo-in for less than a £5. Well, just over a £5 for both. So I had a nice little browse around. So not that I have the greatest collection, but it has opened my eyes to thinking maybe I should start looking at a few more brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, probably.
And I know
should.
you and me have got tickets for a video game market. Later on this year, so I'm looking forward to going and have a rummage through some bins and maybe set aside some cash. If anyone wants to tell me what I should have as part of my retro collection, let me know in the comments below, and I'll maybe scope it out for future content.
I feel this is going to be very dangerous for me. We go.
Yeah, quite possibly. You have a whole room there to kit out with gaming merch, so
yeah, but
there's space. There's a void to fill.
There really isn't. It's quite full already.
Nah, you can get more in there. You can see all the space.
I need to put up more shelves.
You need something like this behind me.
Yeah.
And then you'll have an excuse to fill it.
True story. But you know what? We have an excuse to fill now, Chris. An entire podcast. So if you'd like to introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, a.k.a. the news.
And as always, the news is brought to you by our Guild Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel, which gives you early access to shows such as the Clickercast Remastered. And to be honest, it helps the channel immensely in keeping, even if you are an audio listener and you want to find a way of helping the channel, head over to the YouTube channel, 99p a month. That helps us pay the bills to keep the audio version up. Because we don't make any money on the audio version. So that is, the audio version is actually just a net loss for us.
So you're basically freeloaders.
Yeah. That's not what I was getting at, but fair enough.
How else am I going to fund my £1.50 Far Cry retro collection if I don't have that?
Two people need to subscribe to fund Chris's Far Cry addiction.
Yeah, I actually have them all, bar 2 and 1 now.
Yeah. So anyway, getting into it, like last week, this is going to be our last week we did the PlayStation predictions episode. This is going to be the Xbox one, but there is actually some news I want to jump into first.
Yes.
So we'll get through the news items and then we'll come back to the Xbox at the end of the show. So if you're looking for just the Xbox predictions description, the links are in there. Assassin's Creed Shadows, Chris. We have another delay. It's no longer coming out on Valentine's Day. What has happened?
My wife will be devastated that I can't go play games after actually.
You have to interact with your loved ones now. You cannot play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I'll read the blog. Well, not blog. The tweet they put out from the Assassin's Creed Shadows team, specifically Mark Alexis Cote. He tweeted saying, "Dear players, we wanted to extend our heartfelt thanks to our incredible fans and dedicated teams for your unwavering support since our announcement in September to further refine and polish Assassin's Creed Shadows. Since November, we've been thrilled to share our progress through gameplay overviews, and an overwhelming excitement has truly inspired us. Each week has brought us valuable feedback, in fact, from our community. While we've already made remarkable strides, we believe a few additional weeks are needed to implement that feedback and ensure an even more ambitious and engaging Day 1 experience. Accordingly, the new release date is March 20th, 2025. We remain committed to delivering a high-quality, immersive experience fostered by ongoing dialogue between our players and development teams. We know you're eager to learn more about Shadows, and we're excited to share more updates with you in the very near future."
All good to me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's that point where it's like, what's it, a couple more weeks at this stage? We've waited a couple of years since Valhalla. The big kind of swell of games led up to Christmas and festive season, that's died right down now. So if it comes out January, February, March, it doesn't really bother me. This was my next big game I was going to play, so it kind of gives me a bit more time to maybe start something old.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you did say last week that you were that's why you jumped into Cocoon. Mm-hmm. What's next on the horizon then? Because a month is a long time, really. You can get a decent sized game in a month.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. Obviously, we've got The Last of Us that we're playing. It might give me a good opportunity to get the Uncharted playthrough series started.
Oh well, you basically got 2 months from now and a bit, so you couldn't get through all the Uncharted games in that time.
Oh, absolutely.
I did it.
Yeah, possibly. I'll have to take a long look at my my library and really see where I want to go. With it.
I know why it was delayed. They couldn't find the Apple of Eden.
Maybe. Where the hell's that came from?
Liverpool. I bought it at Comic-Con.
Oh,
It's been on my shelf just up there, out of shot, for a while. But it's the first time I've actually turned it on, because I didn't have any batteries, so I stole some.
Oh, it actually turns on. I thought it was just like shimmering glow. Oh. Yes, the power of Eden in the palm of his hands. But yeah, nothing really more to add on this. It's just, yeah.
It is. Delay. It's a delay. To be honest, short delays like this, I think are usually, when you read the reasons why, I think they're usually being quite honest. Because, we needed a bit longer to polish the game effectively. That's probably the team making the game going to the execs going, we need just a little bit more time.
Yeah.
It's when you get delays where it goes, it's meant to be coming out February the 14th, and now it's coming out sometime this year still. That's when you kind of go, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, Ubisoft are just desperate not to let this slide. They don't want this to mess up.
They're in a difficult position, actually, I think, Ubisoft, because I feel like there's a lot resting on this game because they haven't had a good few years. The reception to the way they're making games at the moment, the quality they're putting out there is generally fine. But it's also disappointing because it's only fine. So I think because they're putting so much into making sure Assassin's Creed lands, they've put quite a lot of eggs in that Assassin's Creed basket. And Shadows, it's the Japan one everyone's been asking for a long time. Mm-hmm. I think this game really needs to land well for Ubisoft.
Yeah, they're getting to the point of the delayed again. They're getting close to the potential launch of Ghost of Yotai as well, which could be another issue they're going to lead into if they're not too quick. There has been some conversation online of the delay actually further delays the potential takeover buyout of Tencent and the Ubisoft going private merger. You know, the whole thing we've covered with Yusuke and Mont family want to buy it and make it private again with Tencent investment. The kind of conversation going around this week was that the game actually been knocked back almost because naturally when it comes out, something's going to impact the shares. So they're actually thinking if we defer it another month later, it gives us more time between now and then to maybe get this buyout / merger through. So it could be like a tactical decision on the wider part as well.
Yeah.
But we won't know unless something happens between then and now. But an odd time to sell your company when you're on the cusp of a launch of your arguably your biggest game ever. So
I've just glanced. I was just scrolling through Twitter, and someone's actually put the share prices up, and it's quite interesting. In 2021, the shares were over 80. Over 80. It doesn't actually have the unit. 80 euros per share at a peak, and then it's been gradually declining, and it's currently at 12.3.
Oh.
And it's a clear trend there. There's been a few peaks, but that's a fall. In 2023, it picked up a little bit, went back as high as 30 euros, but the share price, not great, but actually that could lean into them trying to sell as like if share prices are down and they can kind of people want to get out. That might make it easier for people to buy, but also the flip side there is people might be looking at it. They go, "I bought these shares for 50 euros. It's down to 12 euros. I ain't selling. I'm just going to hold."
Yeah. Cool. Yeah,
and what can you do in that situation? You can't force people to sell their assets. Like,
definitely go buy some shares now.
Yeah.
If you're in the market.
Not financial advice, but not. I mean, to be fair, I'm tempted actually to buy some shares because if Assassin's Creed Shadows does well,
they're not going to go lower, right?
I mean, it basically looks like it's been free fall for like 3.5 years at this point.
It's got to turn around at some point.
Does it though?
If it gets bought out, that usually gets a boost.
Yeah, if it gets bought out,
you buy it.
But the whole point of the buyout is so that no one has his, really.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, let's keep moving on to, we have some PlayStation movie news. So Helldivers, it's getting a movie. Chris,
The democracy.
what do you want to see from a Helldivers movie?
I mean, it's interesting because there is a Helldivers movie that already exists, and it's called Starship Troopers. It's essentially the story of it. You know what? It's one of those movies where it doesn't have any characters or cast anyway. It basically has the universe exists, the concept of a Helldiver exists, protecting Super Earth. And you kind of just make it what you want, really. So it seems like a really good slate to give to maybe any director who's done any kind of like sci-fi or horror movie before, and just make it your own. But I think in terms of what it will be, the success of Helldivers alone will probably get it good groundswell in the movie industry. Just has to be a bit of blockbuster action with aliens and stuff, you know, like your typical summer blockbuster. And if it looks good enough, it can't be any worse than like Madam Web or Morbius or anything for Sony, can it? So
I think it's oddly that they're in a very good position because there's no real strong narrative. There's a lot of lore that they've established, but there's no strong narrative. There's no iconic characters, which means that the movie has license to write a story in that universe that makes sense. They're not bound by how the character's been written before.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at Starship Troopers, that movie's like, 25-year-old now?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. All those sequels that followed have just slowly had diminishing returns. And I mean, actually, Sony does have the rights. They own Starship Troopers, the movie, so they're not even stepping on like another movie studio's feet. All I would ask from this is make the bugs look super cool. Shows lots of like gory, just like sick destruction, explosives and such. And make sure that guy from the original trailer has a cameo.
Yeah.
You know, the one who goes, "Welcome to Helldivers." Like that. The guy who was on stage at the Game Awards. He needs a cameo. Needs to be a general or something.
I think that's the opening for me. You know how Starship Troopers kind of opens with the propaganda video?
Yeah. Would you like to know more?
Yeah. you kind of you basically do a similar thing. Like, I don't feel like, especially if Sony own Starship Troopers, that they need to go away from it. Just, you know what, this worked. This is kind of what people want. So just do a bit tongue-in-cheek with it.
Yeah, go all out humour slash... I mean, they could lean too much into the humour.
Yeah.
And make it almost like a comedy movie, but I don't think that would be bad. It's not like we're expecting billions of sales where this isn't going to get like Avengers level numbers.
No, it's not.
It's going to be a funny sci-fi movie with aliens and jokes about democracy and freedom. Loads of aliens are going to kill people. Loads of people are going to kill aliens. We might not even get to the other factions because I guess you bank them for a sequel.
Yeah. You know what?
And just go zany with it. Don't take yourself seriously.
I can almost see the opening now. You're opening with like the guy like basically doing a recruitment push, then pulls out to like the main character and he walks away and goes, "I'd like to know more about that." Something along the lines, like that little tongue in cheek. If you know, you know. He did this. He did this. Yeah.
But not the only movie they're working on.
No, Horizon was meant to be a TV show. They've changed it to a movie.
Yes. Good decision, I feel. I don't think the budget of television would give the scope required for the beautiful world that is Horizon.
Yeah, I agree, but because it's going to look so much better as a movie with the budget, but I worry that almost like how the Uncharted film felt a bit rushed in places. Is it too much narrative that they're trying to cram into like a 2-hour film? That's the problem, I think, with movies, where you are very limited in time in what you can tell, the story you want to tell. So sometimes this is where sometimes if you got a 10-hour TV show, you got 5 times the amount of time to tell your story, so you can let the narrative breathe a bit.
Yeah, but you can overdo it at the same time.
Yeah,
and I think that like movies have traditionally been like 2.5 hours tops, and then the Lord of the Rings brought us these 3.5 hour epics, and I kind of feel like as a society we're somewhere maybe around the 2-hour 40 mark is the sweet spot for a modern day movie.
Well, a lot of people I've seen online say when it's a 2-hour film go, "Oh, that's long," they're expecting more like an hour and a half, but I'm like going, well, an hour and a half you have very little time to tell any sort of meaningful story. You kind of have to get your characters introduce the world, get through the plot, get a few set pieces, and then get out. Yeah. And it just, I don't feel there's a lot of time to do that very well. That's my only concern about Horizon, but the budget for the dinosaurs, that's going to be...
Yeah, that was my worry, is if we did a Horizon TV show, is you would only, like similar to the first season of The Last of Us actually, you only really saw a clicker or some infected every other episode, and it was always very a short-lived moment, and that kind of works in The Last of Us because it's the more horror tinge, so the less you show is more. But when it comes to Horizon, you're gonna want to see these creatures in the wild and these beautiful vistas filled with like quote-unquote nature, but I guess robotics, so not nature.
Yeah, if you're sticking kind to Aloy's like story, I think you've got the prologue of the first game in a 2-hour movie, and that's your lot, really.
Yeah,
you get through the proving. And then Aloy setting out into the larger world is probably your ending. Mm-hmm. There's enough more, like, you got obviously things that happen with Rost to have an emotional heart through the story. You can address Aloy as a kid a bit more so as a kid. You can set up a lot of things, but
yeah. I mean, with a movie, you could always do flashbacks and stuff as well to her being a kid. You don't have to open with it, but yeah, I just think the budget and the gravitas you're giving it to a movie, it just has a different vibe than a TV show. Like, TV's better than it ever has been, thanks to the likes of Game of Thrones and such, but I think cinema experience, that big screen night out, is definitely something different, and I think Horizon, like a big giant Thunderjaw, deserves to be on a massive screen.
I think I'm almost as a role here. I can just envision what the start of the movie should be. And for this one, I'm seeing Aloy finding her focus as like the opening scenes. She falling down into the cauldron, the first cauldron that she went in as a kid. So you're starting with young Aloy finding her focus, then cuts to her old. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Indeed. You know what else sounds good, Chris? What? PlayStation are introducing a new Portal, a new Edge, and some new earbuds. And the black. Midnight Black.
Good done.
They do. Shame it's the DualShock Edge, DualSense Edge.
Yeah, it's because I saw this initial kind of little short trailer drop with the Midnight Black editions, and I thought they've gone and done the PS2, like the rumor that's been growing, which is the PS2 motif. However, they've not gone with the PlayStation 2 coloured buttons. They've kept it just like sleek black, like almost like carbon black. Great for people who love their black tech, because I know they lean into the white. It's been a bugbear for a few people.
Yeah,
just like too futuristic, they're trying too hard to be sci-fi. Whereas, black tech, just a nice black box, like DVD players and such, cassette players from back in the day, your landline phone. Like, there's something nice about just black technology.
I was actually wrong, actually. They already have a Midnight Black DualShock, so this is additions to the Midnight Black lineup. So they have the DualSense, they have both PlayStation M5s. Now they have got the Edge, they've got their headphones already. Now they've added the earbuds and the Portal. So you have the full suite. No VR.
I'm telling you, VR's dead.
It is.
VR's dead.
My reason why I don't like the Edge is purely price. I don't understand why it's £200. What are you getting for £200 that you don't get in a standard DualSense for $50? Why is it 4 times as much for a few triggers on the back? It is probably the best controller on the market, but I think it's about at least £100 overpriced.
Just premium, isn't it? If you want it, you get it.
That is beautiful. Midnight Black. Audio listeners, Chris is holding up his Midnight Black one. I've only got two. Yeah. I've only got two standing ones.
I have a problem.
Have you got the silver one? The silver one's nice.
No,
Nat's got the
silver one. I'm not too keen on. I like the pearl white DualSense, which is where it has like that shimmery gleam. I think my favourites are just the metallic ones, which I've settled on.
Yeah,
so I've got the red. I've got the metallic red. Yeah. I've got the metallic blue. I've got the black.
There's something about the standard white one.
Yeah, I don't like
where the two-tone doesn't work, but on the metallic ones, it works.
Yeah. Really
I think it's the white, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tech. It's trying too hard to be sci-fi tech.
Yeah.
But between these ones, the only one I've really got my eye on, in all honesty, is the teal, the green, the metallic green, to kind of complete the set. Yeah. But it won't bloody drop in price. It's still £70 everywhere. Everything had a Black Friday, Boxing Day sale, a New Year's sale, except for that colour. So it's like, damn you, PlayStation. It's like they know. But great range. Nice to see some more variations on the Portal. And I think, as you said, without VR, it goes back to that. The Portal must be selling gangbusters to now have 3 iterations of it in under 2 years. Well, it's doing well.
Yeah, one's a limited run, but the black one, I think the black is a smart move because a lot of people don't like white tech, especially if you've got like grubby hands and stuff. You can get marks where the black is. If I were to buy a Portal now, I would go for the Midnight Black one. I think it looks nicer than the white one.
Yeah,
but I'm not planning to sell my Portal just to buy a new Portal. I understand why you did, and I was tempted on that one because it's the limited edition one.
Yep.
But yeah, if I was to buy one, I'd go black. I still don't like the headphones. I refuse to buy them until I can use my own earbuds on the Portal. I won't even consider them. I think I've said it before, but I think it's an anti-consumer move to lock down. Imagine if Apple did that on a phone, where you can go, you can only use Apple AirPods. You can't use anyone else other branded earphones. There'd be hell on.
Hell to pay.
And if you're going to criticise one company for doing it, I think you need to criticise everyone. So I don't like them being locked down. They should be branding these as the best way to experience it, not the only way to experience wireless. Because there's no reason, it's just a software lock. So anyway,
agreed.
Rant over. Let's move on to some Lego news, Chris. Would you like a Lego Game Boy?
Does it function?
That is a good question.
I don't think it does. I think it is just Lego blocks.
I think it's just
actually
Lego
we don't know.
We actually don't know.
Just a tease. Just a tease. So many months yet until this is public. But yeah, Nintendo's partnership with Lego continues, and we're going to get in October a Lego aesthetic styled Game Boy, OG Game Boy. So keep our eyes peeled for that one.
I think I'd love that. Whether it functions or not, potentially love to own that. But it can't be that complicated. The Game Boy is a rectangle. It's just a rectangle.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the easiest aesthetically designed Lego ideas in a while.
Yeah. There's a few curved corners, but yeah. It'd be awesome if it did actually fully function. But
yeah, even if it had just like one game on it, like Tetris, like the original packing game Tetris on it, like just if you've got to imagine for the
also
price
easily made in Lego.
Yeah, if you think about this is probably going to be about probably 80, 90 quid realistically. They could get an LCD screen in there that played Tetris, just like a pack-in, just a one-game type. Or maybe it comes with a couple of games. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, they just put out a little teaser trailer on socials. I guess we'll hear more in the summer.
We will indeed. Moving on swiftly. How expensive is COD, Chris?
Incredibly expensive. To buy, or I mean, if you got Game Pass, it's pretty cheap.
I was making a fish joke, but I thought when you went to buy, it's like you're not going to really rent a fish. But
Cod and chips.
Call of Duty. We got some news about some of the budgets from some of their previous games, and they are eye-watering. Oddly enough, I'm reading from Pure Xbox. For context, they've given us the development cost for The Last of Us Part 2. It's not clear yet, but I am assuming these include marketing costs as well. So The Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million to make.
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which is a 2015 game, which is the cheapest of the three Call of Duties, was $450 million. That's pricey.
Yep.
And Black Ops Cold War 2020, $700 million.
So you've got to imagine at that rate, this year's Black Ops 6
is it going to top the $1 billion?
800, 900?
At what point does Call of Duty's development cost tick over the $1 billion?
I mean, this is, I guess, it's one of those weird things where you kind of like the footballing world, where you need to spend money to make money, almost. Like, spending this every year allows them to get an iteration out every 3-year cycle, be the most polished, complete game in existence on a yearly basis. And I guess it pays dividends because they make their money back like 8 times over, don't they? So I guess it does work, but it's just that it balloons so much, even in just the last decade, to essentially double the production.
It doubled in 5 years.
Like you said, if you're getting something like The Last of Us Part 2, which is a huge, huge game from Sony that took probably 4 or 5 years to make, but that comes in at 220, obviously you're not seeing the return on numbers. Like Last of Us Part 2 was probably, 15 mil units sold, whereas Call of Duty is probably selling upwards of like 40, 50, so you are talking a lot of return. But it's just, it's just baffling amounts of money to think. It
is, and this is one where if I was Microsoft, I'd be looking into this. I'm not going to cut, not in a way of where cut your budget's going. Is all this money being spent wisely, or is this just a case of as it's grown and grown and grown, more money's being thrown at like marketing campaigns and stuff, where they could be smarter with it? So they're paying a lot of money to be the only first-person shooter, really, effectively. There's nothing comes close. I mean, these other first-person shooters, but nothing comes close to the numbers. But can some of this money be sent smarter so we can hack $100 million out of the budget and without having any real detrimental effects, which could help Microsoft claw back some of the money that they've put into but the Activision Blizzard purchase? Because I'd be worried if I was Xbox, the amount of money that goes to produce these games. If you get a flop, that's a huge hit. It's unlikely, but it is possible.
Well, that's why I guess, again, feeding the machine of Call of Duty is that you stoke it with the 700 million, and even the bad ones still are the top-selling game of the year. Remember, Call of Duty, the only year it wasn't was the last time Grand Theft Auto came out, and Hogwarts Legacy was the only two titles in the last 10, 15 years that have pipped it to best-selling game of the year. So even the bad ones, like Ghosts and such, which did, I guess, damage to the brand, we saw with Black Ops this year, or this past year, I should say, it didn't really slow down this machine that much.
I think the thing is, well, for bad for Call of Duty is probably very good for most other first-person shooters out there in terms of the quality. It's just that there's a certain level expected, and if they dip below it, it's a bad game. When realistically, it's actually probably an excellent game. But if you're not comparing it to other games in the franchise, it's just that these are huge numbers. Like
they are.
Yeah.
And we'll get into Call of Duty when we talk about the breakdown of Xbox's future as well.
Indeed. And moving on to splash damage, because Transformers Reactive has been cancelled.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, I think we definitely covered it, but I can't remember anything about the game, to be honest. There's a studio update, reading from their Twitter site. Today we have some very difficult news to share. The decision has been made to end development of Transformers Reactive. This means we will be scaling down to refocus our efforts on other projects. Unfortunately, despite every effort, a number of roles across the studio are now potentially at risk of redundancy. The decision did not come lightly, and it is a difficult time for the studio and our people. We want to take a moment to thank the team who worked on Transformers for their dedication and passion. Hasbro was an incredible and supportive partner throughout, and we hope to work with them again. To the many fans, your excitement and support helped keep us going. While not being able to see the game through to release is painful, having to say goodbye to friends and colleagues hurts even more. We're now focused on doing everything we can to support them through this tough period, just as we're committed to caring for those who will stay with us as we build a stronger splash damage for the future. Thank you for your compassion and understanding. No explanation why.
No, I mean, if you recall, Splash Damage's last game was Outcasters on Google Stadia.
It was a fun game, Outcasters, but unfortunately, it was on a platform that, well, went the way of Stadia.
Yeah, it's a big step from Gears of War support, which is probably what they're best known for. But yeah, hopefully they find a project that helps them out soon. But I don't recall much of the game beforehand, and now it's gone. As someone who isn't a big Transformers fan, I know there was a little audience there keen on it, but ultimately they just need to get a game out.
Yeah, that's the things like. I wonder what happened there. I wonder if it is a case of it was getting too expensive to produce and the quality wasn't there. That's how I would assume. Two quick ones before we do get to the Xbox stuff. Power Wash Simulator has added Wallace and Gromit for the next paid DLC.
That's cracking, lad.
Yeah, I was waiting for. I knew you'd have something there.
I was trying to think.
Yeah, and I was thinking cheese Gromit.
Cheese.
I didn't know how to work it though. And Jar Jar Binks arrives in Jedi Power Battles.
I'm not doing an impression of Jar Jar.
No.
Okay, I guess.
Right, Chris.
That's a surprise one, by the way, because he wasn't in the original Jedi Power Battles. It's just like this is a game that got like a port to modern consoles not a while back, and then now they've decided to just throw Jar Jar in. It's a shame they didn't give him a lightsaber. He's got one of them Gungan sticks.
Yeah,
but I reckon they should have given him a dual-wielding red lightsaber, like the big theory that Jar Jar's actually
Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar. Yeah, that would have been funny. But yeah, nearly 25 years on from the initial launch, modern audiences get to play as Jar Jar for the first time.
Indeed. Right, Chris. Xbox. What are they doing in 2025?
Oh, what aren't they doing in 2025?
Shall we just go through all, like we did for the PlayStation, go through all the major studios? Probably quickly, compared to we did for PlayStation.
We got news, obviously as the year gets underway, we start to get some actual more news as the industry comes back alive. We did have some news for Xbox this past week that they have confirmed there is a developer direct coming January 23rd, so it's actually not too far away, just a few weeks, on the Thursday at 6 p.m. So we may cover it on the channel depending on our work schedules, if we can get back into the studios in time for the Thursday to do just a little watch along with it. The cadence of the directs we know about, I guess. We've got the first one was 2023. We saw Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, Elder Scrolls Online, Redfall was shown off, and then we got the surprise reveal of Hi-Fi Rush for the first time, and release, I should say, of Hi-Fi Rush. Last year in 2024, we got Avowed was shown off, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 was shown off, Visions of Mana, Ara Untold, History Untold, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was shown off, which is where I think last year we thought, oh, they've not got a stealth drop surprise for us.
Yeah.
Which we said, like that, we don't want them to set the cadence of every developer direct you're going to see something. So I guess, do you want to then break, I guess, into the studios, and then I guess one of them could be a surprise. Aaron Greenberg, the Vice President of Marketing, has confirmed there will be an unannounced game revealed.
And looking at the last 2 years, if they're assuming they keep the similar format, there was about 5 games covered at each of them.
Yeah.
So let's try and, while we talk through the studios, pick 4 games that are going to be there. Because the 5th we don't know about. So let's start, I think, with the Coalition, Chris. Gears of War E-Day, time to see more? You're muted.
Sorry, no, I don't think so. I believe they will save Gears of War E-Day for their summer showcase. I think it's essentially their flagship title now in their entire wheelhouse, outside of Call of Duty. So I think the Coalition, obviously, we saw the tease last year. Everyone was hyped for it. We're going back to the main squad. It's a prequel. I think you sit on this until the summer, and then I guess go big with it for probably a 2026 launch.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at the games, and I think from last year, only Avowed's the only one that hasn't come out, and that was meant to come out last year, but I think got delayed.
It did, yeah. It got pushed to this February.
So I think there's a good guess that anything in these 5 games are probably due to come out 2025. I think that might help us narrow things down. So moving on to Compulsion Games and South of Midnight.
I think that'll be the biggest focus point for the developer direct. South of Midnight had a little bit shown off a couple of months ago. We got a kind of extended trailer. We saw some of the gameplay. I think South of Midnight's my most excited game from Xbox Studios for 2025. I'm not overly sold on Avowed. There's a couple of other projects that I'll definitely check out when they come around, but I think South of Midnight, it's a new IP. It's got that beautiful art style. It's got the gameplay of like a Kena Bridge of Spirits, which you said before. It's quite linear, and Compulsion Games aren't known for making ridiculously massive games, so I think you're probably going to talk about maybe a 20-hour story-driven experience from this one.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
Looks great.
It's definitely a game that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Moving on to Double Fine. What are they working on? Because it's been a while since Psychonauts 2. That was 2021, so it's been 4 years since the last release. Yeah,
and Psychonauts 3, I think they've already explicitly said that's not going to be the next game. I think they have confirmed that. So whether Psychonauts and Double Fine kind of got caught up during acquisitions, didn't they? Where the game was already done and ready. So if you remember, the game still came out on PlayStation.
Yes, it did.
Even though they'd been bought by Xbox, and it was one of those things where it was so far down the pipeline, it would have been daft to do it. But then since then, Xbox has pivoted towards this multi-platform approach anyway. So personally, I just think Psychonauts, it did win some
it was
Game
very,
of the Year
very
awards
well
as
received. It
was. It's actually one of them little games that's on like my radar for as I go back through my Xbox library on Game Pass. It's one that always jumps out to me thinking it's not too big of a game. I've heard it's really good in terms of story and narrative, so it's probably more up my street than you would expect. Yeah. But I just don't think it sold that well.
So in the 2021 Game Awards, it was nominated for Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, and Best Action Adventure Game. That's lots of good categories to be in. It lost to things like It Takes Two. I'm just trying to look up the actual winners right now from that year. So Game of the Year was It Takes Two. Game Direction was Deathloop. Narrative was Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's like it was definitely in the running for a lot of these things, but didn't quite get over the line. But I think maybe it's just a case of Double Fine don't know what they want to do with the Psychonauts 3, because there's 16 years between 1 and 2.
Well, that's it. They've, in terms of their IP, they don't really have much going for them. They are a much smaller studio. They've done a couple of remasters with the LucasArts films. They did The Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango and stuff over the last couple of years. We talked about Brutal Legend, which was the Jack Black rock tie-in hack and slash game that was past its 15th year anniversary. I think we're well past a sequel to that. Maybe a remaster.
Yeah, that might... The difficulty, the remaster could work, but the difficulty there will be the licensing, because it's licensed music, it's got Jack Black into getting things like that, all that lined up. Although they are now under Xbox, so the budgets might be a bit more available.
Yeah.
But then would Xbox be willing to put the budget for a game that was well received but didn't sell millions of copies? Yeah. I just don't know what they're doing, basically.
I think a Brutal Legend remaster or... probably a brand new IP.
Yeah,
still indie in scope, not too big. But I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do, because I can't imagine they'll maybe want to continue on the same track. So but they are due something new. That's the big thing, is they're probably primed. So if it is of an indie size scope, like a Hi-Fi Rush or like a Pentiment or something like that, this could be the studio to look out for that stealth. Maybe an announcement with a stealth drop.
Yeah, I think moving on to In Exile, who are making Clockwork Revolution. So this was initially announced at an Xbox Games Showcase in 2023. Yeah. Is it time? Because I haven't really seen anything of it since. Is it time that we see more?
Was it 23 or 24?
23. In January last year, they announced that they were partnering with a newly found video game studio, Shapeshifter. So last year was 24. So Xbox Game Showcase, June 12th, 2023. That was announced.
Yeah. This one, for me, is... It looks like Bioshock.
Yeah, it's Bioshocky.
Let's be honest. And in the absence of Bioshock, and while we still wait for Judas from that Bioshock, Ken Levine's team... This could kind of fill that gap. It's got that kind of steampunk vibe. And if we learn a little bit more about the scope, it is an RPG. It involves some kind of time travel. It could do well. I do think we should see more from it. I don't feel like this developer direct is the one, though.
I don't know. I think we'll see more from it this year. Whether it's this direct or something in the summer, I couldn't say. If they're thinking about trying to get it out this year, I think we hear about it now, because they need to start ramping up that interest. But if it's next year, I think they'll wait till the summer.
Yeah. Talking about the developer direct, so our audience doesn't prove us right or wrong. The cover art for the developer direct actually gives away, and the blog gives away what games they will be talking about, bar the mystery game. So before we theorise, I think we should refine our conversation to what the studio's up to in 2025 and beyond, because the cover art for the developer direct clearly suggests that we're seeing Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Claire Obscura Expedition 33, which looked great, it just has a shit name, and then question mark for something unknown. So I think, focusing on the conversation on what the studios are up to, I don't think we're seeing Clockwork Revolution.
No, I think you're right there. We are not seeing Clockwork Revolution. That
might be the mystery game, but I think it's a bit early still.
But didn't they say the mystery game hasn't been announced?
No, it was just Aaron Greenberg saying... Oh, he did say unannounced, I guess so,
yeah. Moving on to Halo Studios, formerly 343. Could this be our mystery game, Chris? A Halo reboot?
No, it's too soon.
You reckon?
They only announced the studio restructure. Was it around last November time, right? Yeah,
but that was a rebrand and restructure, but the studios already existed, already worked on Halo.
It's looking at the bigger picture, knowing Xbox have new hardware, and I think we're all under the impression that they're going to go early with the next generation of consoles. Whatever's going to be the successor to the Series X and S, it's probably looking at 2026. We suspect. Infinite and Halo traditionally tied in with the launch of a new console. I suspect that this Halo reboot is going to be saved in the tank for the launch of the new console to give it that like flagship game. And I don't think... Would it be E-Day and Halo at the same time? I'm not sure. But it's been a while since Infinite,
it's not,
to be fair.
It's not a bad move, because sometimes we've been bemoaning Xbox for a while about not getting their games out. If they're going to launch, say, a new console in 2026 or 2027, going early, I think that is largely to jettison the Series S, so they don't have to support it as much, which is something that's been holding them back this generation. Getting a Gears out, getting a Halo out, right out the gate, it's not a bad move. Having a decent selection of content specific to the new hardware, it's probably a good move to get people to go, why should you buy the new Xbox? Well, Halo, you got the new Halo, you got the new Gears, you got this, you got that, you got this. And you like go, oh, that's reasons. We're remastering Indiana Jones, like doing these sort of moves to get people like, well, actually. It's Xbox we're talking about. They're not going to remaster Indiana Jones. They're just going to give you a better version based on what platform you're playing on.
Yeah, like a boost, like a series boost. Yeah, it's when I'm looking at the slate. Phil's always said that he wants to have a game every quarter. And looking at the slate for this year so far, we've got Avowed, South of Midnight, Fable, Reboot, and The Outer Worlds 2. Yeah. So that's your 4 games for the year. I think in between... expansions deals, Doom as well. Actually, we've got Doom, haven't we?
Got Doom, yeah.
So that's 5 games. So they've already got a pretty stacked 2025, and I think for that cadence that Phil wants, they almost like need to hold some back, because we're probably going to get a Forza at some point. Do we get a flight simulator every year?
No, not every year.
Every other year.
I don't know, but the last flight simulator it's had a bit of a crash landing, didn't it? So I think that's any plans to like sunset it and replace it, I think will probably be pushed back while they're firefighting it and getting it back in the air. So I think that also wasn't the newest one just called Microsoft Flight Simulator that dropped the number of the year.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So I think they may have been looking at that as a platform.
Yeah. So I think they've got 5 in the tank, and that's without any Fallout. That's without any Starfield expansions that they might want to drop on us.
Mojang could be looking at maybe bringing out another Minecraft thing, because the last thing they brought out was Legends in 2023.
Yeah, that wasn't them, I don't think. I think it was in partnership with somebody else. It was just kind of like supported by them.
It was Mojang and Blackbird Interactive.
Yeah.
But another Minecraft spin-off. It's been 2 years. Is it time?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the movie coming out this year.
Yeah.
So there's obviously that desire for Minecraft content. I don't think we're ever going to see a Minecraft 2. I don't think we need it.
No.
I think just let Minecraft exist as is and build off the consistency of the game. I think it's like Fortnite. We never need a Fortnite 2. We just need to keep building on the foundations that exist. So I think Mojang will pretty much just stick to support and then probably help with, I think we will see something Minecraft related, but I don't think it'll be anything direct from Mojang other than support.
Yeah, I don't. So moving on, the Initiative, Perfect Dark.
I'd love to, because I was pleasantly, I think you were as well, pleasantly surprised at what they showed off at last year's showcase with Perfect Dark. How I went from not really knowing much about the game outside of, it was the team that did GoldenEye. It was basically them refining GoldenEye into this. In a lot of people's opinions, it's the better game. But as someone who didn't have a N64, didn't play Perfect Dark,
I never played it either.
Yeah, seeing this trailer, I remember both you and me watching it thinking, like, this looks great. Like, first person, but sci-fi meets Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, it's the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics. There's some good teams on it.
Mm-hmm. Like the HUD layout, if you remember. Then she almost like, the mission I think she did in the trailer was almost like a Hitman stealth mission. But it looked fluid, it looked interactive, it had a little bit of cyberpunk thrown in there. And I was pleasantly surprised by Perfect Dark. I do think, again, if you're keeping your cards close to your chest, you'd maybe hold this one back a little bit, because I could see Perfect Dark, Halo, and Gears being like the big three for 2026.
I don't think this game needs holding back. We only saw it officially for the first time last June. I think it's just too early. They've officially, after years of rumours, they've officially announced it. Go quiet and just work on it. Let some other stuff take the spotlight. I don't think they need any real mention of a Perfect Dark. If it's going to be a 2026 game, maybe be at Game Awards or something like that later, towards the back end of the year.
Yeah,
or next year's January Direct.
I agree.
But yeah. Moving on, Ninja Theory, probably Hellblade 3, but definitely too soon to say anything. Or are they going to do something different?
I think they could close them down, still.
You reckon?
I think I mean, if you remember, we saw the huge success of Hi-Fi Rush off the back of a decent game in Ghostwire Tokyo. And it wasn't enough. And Ninja Theory have had 2 games now that have took a complete 8-9 years to get out. And have they really other than the audio design awards and the best motion capture, I don't think they've had the impact as the games probably do deserve. Like, I finished Hellblade 2 in 2 days, and it was I enjoyed it, but it didn't do anything different the first game hadn't already done. And I think the lack of marketing around it, and the fact it just felt like another Game Pass slot. There you go. There's a slot filled. There's our Xbox exclusive slot for Game Pass. It's a
shame because it's such a highly polished game, and it's a third person action game, which is something Xbox are maybe a bit light on. But I kind of agree. I think if the
biggest problem is there wasn't much game.
Yeah,
it was cutscene simulator.
And that's the same with Hellblade 1. Do you think Ninja Theory could be a studio that they don't shut down, but they turn into potentially a support studio? It's that difficult thing that the expertise with Hellblade, I think just the length of the game minimises its impact because everyone gets their hands on it, plays over a weekend, then moves on, and it gets forgotten about a bit. It doesn't have that, you've been playing for a few weeks, you keep talking about it. It just kind of disappears from the narrative.
Yeah.
But there's such high quality there that could be used in an ideal world to probably support other studios, but does the talent there want to do that? And the answer is almost certainly no.
Yeah, the need to... Hellblade 2 would have been a much better game if they just expanded more gameplay. I know they try and keep it... It's a certain art style they go for, and I wholly appreciate it, but they do need to remember they're a game developer at the end of the day. And I think that game needed more fighting. It needed more skill tree, stuff like typical video game stuff. And I get they wanted to be a cinematic masterpiece, and it was. But I'm playing it on something called Game Pass, and it's not Movie Pass.
Yeah.
It's Game Pass, and I needed more gameplay.
I agree, and I kind of like diversity in games. I don't like to see every game become every other game. Yeah. So if you start putting skill trees in it, you start putting more game by maybe making the world a bit more open, you're probably taking away from what it does really well.
You are, but it's...
There could be...
It pays the bills.
They could do a different way of maybe expanding the combat. The combat is not changed much from Hellblade 1, and it's quite simplistic. You could develop that further, make the story a bit bigger, make the world feel a bit less linear, but without taking away the linearity. There's stuff I think they could do to improve it. But it's one that, are they going to get shut down? I don't know, but it's been quite a while. It's been about half a year now since Hellblade.
Yeah, I reckon that you will get a PS5 port.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't... I mean, there is news this week of certain Xbox ports.
A PS5 port, could that be the last hurrah? Or could that be the thing where it gets in the hand of PlayStation players and they get enough money in to fund the next project? But I think it's dangerous, actually. In Game Pass, you don't care about the length of the game, really, because you're just paying for the entire subscription.
Yeah.
How do you price Hellblade? Like, is this a £60 game?
No, it was only 50 on Xbox at launch.
But if it's only about 5 hours long,
The order 35, stick it on PlayStation, it'll sell more than it will on Xbox.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but the problem you run the risk of, you put it on PlayStation, you're like, it's going to look at the price, look at the length of the game, well, there's no way I'm paying that for that.
Yeah, but that's the risk you take with making such a short game.
It is.
The devs and Microsoft knew that when they allowed it to be greenlit to the end.
Yeah. Moving along now to Obsidian and It's Avowed. We know that it's not. There's no secret there. The next game they're working on is Avowed.
It is. But if you remember the trailer we got at the Game Awards, Outer Worlds 2 also dated this year. So Avowed, essentially the Insomniac of Xbox Studios.
Yeah, they're making a lot of games right now, which is good because Insomniac are awesome, but Obsidian are also awesome.
Do you know what the scope of this might be? Hear me out. Obsidian Games, right? They got acquired a couple of years ago by Xbox, and let's face it, in terms of like dollars to donuts, they've got out in the last couple of years. Think how recent these are. Grounded, Pentiment,
2022,
which got like 10 out of 10s. They're about to get Avowed out, which remember Avowed was delayed from last winter because they said it was a busy period, so they actually moved it, not because the game wasn't ready, they moved it because of purely just everything else that was out. And then Outer Worlds 2 is supposed to be this year as well. That's 4 games in, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
3 years?
Outer
just
Worlds,
under 3 years?
The original Outer Worlds was 2019. They've been working on Pillars of Eternity. They've got a few other things. They're put out games. These guys put out games.
Exactly.
They did the South Park Stick of Truth as well, which is an amazing game.
So they've got the chops, and I think the way they spoke about Avowed and knowing the size of the Outer Worlds 1 to the Outer Worlds 2, the scope for it being an RPG that's probably a lot less is, you're talking 30 to 40 hours probably for these 2 games.
Yeah.
That means Obsidian's free, Richie. What IP do Xbox now have that's stock is on the open up? It's got a potential Season 2 coming to Amazon probably next year.
That they've worked on before.
Are these just ready to then finally... And how we know Bethesda are working on now... Starfield seemingly wrapped up. Their pivot towards Elder Scrolls 6, right?
Yeah.
Todd Howard's team is fully Elder Scrolls 6. So where is the scope for arguably one of Xbox's best IP that's adds probably the biggest pop cultural thing on the moment?
And barring a multiplayer MMO version of the game, it's been a while since the last mainline Fallout.
I don't think we see anything from them, but it's got to be like the planets have aligned, right?
I don't think we hear about their next game till the Outer Worlds 2 comes out, which I'm guessing is later in the year.
Yeah, back end of the year.
And then it's like next up from Obsidian is probably New Vegas 2. I don't think it'll be a Fallout 5 because I think Bethesda will keep that for themselves.
Yeah, agreed.
But a New Vegas 2 or it's kind of something along that ilk.
But have we had a New Vegas reboot yet? Like a remaster? Because there is rumours of... we were talking last week about Oblivion remaster, didn't we?
Yeah, that could make a bit more sense because I feel like if we are talking maybe 2027 for the next Xbox console, I think Bethesda will probably want the next Fallout game on a new engine to be from them. And I don't think you can use the old one for a new game.
Agreed, yeah. They need to get... I mean, Starfield got critiqued to the high heavens.
Yes.
It's quality.
So I don't think you can... Looking out... I mean, Starfield's still doing well. A lot of people still play it. But I think you run a risk of using an outdated engine. So I think you need to bring this to a new engine. Have the absolutely pristine polish. And is there some politics in there that prevents Obsidian being the guys to do that? Where maybe a remaster, or maybe even a remake of they might do of 3 or 4 or something in the Fallout universe. But there again, Obsidian might have a crazy idea that's completely unrelated to Fallout that they're going to go do next anyway.
Yeah, I think either new IP, because I don't think we're going to see like an Avowed 2. Outer Worlds 3 might be in the pipeline eventually, but I think we need to let that like rest for a little bit. I think Fallout New Vegas has its 15th anniversary this October. What a time for an announcement that it's coming 2027.
Yeah.
2026, sorry, with a new console remaster. I think, yeah. And Obsidian are the right team to do it because they're the ones who did it in the first place. So
Remaster or remake?
Remake would be nice.
Yeah.
In whatever engine Obsidian traditionally use for... Because Avowed looks gorgeous. The Outer Worlds looks gorgeous. So, yeah.
Something...
But I don't think we're going to hear about this yet.
Something just to whet the appetite while Bethesda work on other things. So
I think on the 15th anniversary, we'll maybe hear from them.
So, moving on, let's actually touch on Bethesda. Elder Scrolls 6. Time to see more. Starfield's out the way.
Yes, but I mean, you're the Elder Scrolls guy. Do we think it's time, or if they're really? Because let's face it, we know they revealed it, but between Starfield and other things, do you think they've actually been working on it that much? Or has it just been a small pre-production team?
I mean, Todd Howard
now Starfield
was previously quoted by saying in 2026 or later. 2026 is not that far away now.
Exactly.
5 was Skyrim was 2011. It's been 14 years, depending on which version of Skyrim you're talking about. Mm-hmm. This game they've been thinking about for probably about 15 years. I think it's time to start talking about it. Starfield was 2023. Mm-hmm. Unless there's Starfield DLC coming out this year, I think we need to see something from Elder Scrolls from Bethesda. Because then now we're into, like, it's been a long time. And you can't just keep holding this game back. Eventually, you do actually have to make the bloody thing.
I mean, that's the downside.
They will have been working on it. Obviously, Starfield was the priority. Well, it was like Fallout 76 was priority, then Starfield. Now, I think it has to be full steam ahead with Elder Scrolls 6. And I think this year, I don't know when, but this year I think it's time to see what you're working on.
Mm-hmm. Should I get off the pot?
Doesn't even have to be a lot. If it's going to be a 2027 game, you don't have to do a lot, but just kind of come out and go, this is where in, like, oh God, what's the name of the universe called in Elder Scrolls? Tamriel. This is where in Tamriel the game's set. You know, start dropping some information. Maybe show like a bit of a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
More than just all we've had so far is just a view of a vista and the title.
Yeah, just some more meat on the bones, I think, will be appreciated. That just to make fans feel like it's a bit closer than it maybe is.
Yeah. Just to, I think it's probably 2027. Because I think they'll need a few years after Starfield.
Yeah, I agree.
But 2027 will be 4 years after the Starfield launch, so it should be plenty.
Mad, isn't it?
Playground games. Fable?
Yeah, that's what they're working on. And surely another Forza Horizon 6, right?
That's a weird combination for a studio.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, I mean, I guess when Xbox gave them Fable to reboot, because it wasn't... Who did the original Fable? Was it Rare?
Fable was Big Blue Box, Lionhead. I think it was Lionhead, yeah.
Yeah. Which don't exist anymore. So the fact that they gave it to Playground shows that they had a lot of faith in them. But yeah, it's an odd pivot. It's like giving Polyphony Uncharted or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just go make this totally different game to what you are. But we've seen it work. We saw Guerrilla's pivot from Killzone to Horizon did wonders. So maybe these guys can pivot from Horizon to Fable and it lands. The initial trailer looked great. The comedy is very much ultimate British humour. And I've never played a Fable game before, and I think it's one of those games that we've often talked about when it comes up. I know it's well revered, but in my mind's eye, I can't picture what this game looks like or plays like for shit.
Yeah,
so a reboot, I'm the prime candidate of, like, how good this is. He's the new... Like, God of War 2018, it's bring a new audience in and make them fall in love with it just like the originals. And Playground have the chops. Forza Horizon 5 got a lot of Game of the Year awards.
On Forza, Horizon 5 came out in 2021. It's coming up 4-year-old, and the cadence is usually 2 to 3 years between Forzas.
Yeah, I know we get a motorsport game, which is kind of like it's going from Gran Turismo to Need for Speed, kind of back and forth between arcade and simulation, and that is a different team because they have 10 studios who work on the motorsport entries, But I guess that's probably due this year, in light of them working on Fable, so we're probably going to get a motorsport this year, and then a Horizon next year after Fable's out, seemingly, if we look at that timeline.
Well, I've got a theory at the moment, actually. It's been usually 2 to 3 years. In fact, the only gap of 3 years was between 4 and 5. Every other Forza was only a 2-year gap. I think now it's coming up to 4 years. I think that's probably because of Fable and ramping up the studio into having like this split team. There's probably people bouncing between teams based on where they're needed. I think 26, do you think? Or maybe for Forza Horizon 6?
I mean, racing games are an interesting one because they don't really clash with any other game that comes out. Like, the racing genre, you either are into it or you're not.
You know
what?
What if Forza Horizon 6 was a cross-generation thing?
It could be.
So that intentionally maybe holding it back. Welcome Fable, but we're going to do so when we launch whatever's a sequel to the series S and X's, we're going to launch with Halo, we're going to launch with Gears, we're going to launch with Forza. So you're getting some of your big hitters right out the gate.
Absolutely. And I guess with racing games, we are seeing a point of diminishing returns with it. Like, they can only get so creative with the cars and the maps and the I guess what you do when you don't see the person driving the car, just the vehicle in itself. I think having a longer gap between entries is fine. I think we've seen it with Gran Turismo. We're at a point now where you get one per console generation. I think Forza can take a breather. Just enjoy Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah.
They get a chance to work on something different in Fable, so it gives the devs a bit of a refresh as well. That isn't just cars. And then go back to Forza Horizon while Motorsport sits in and does the hard work. If you really, really want a Forza game, you will get one.
Yeah,
so
and
fear not.
There's no reason why you can't just keep supporting 5 for indefinitely if you wanted to.
As long as you get them damn car licenses. So I know there's a lot of chat in our Discord about that.
Well, while we're talking about Forza, Motorsport from 1010 Studios?
Yeah, probably due the back end of this year.
When was the last Motorsport actually released? I don't have the date in front of me.
Forza
2023, October. Yeah, so could be.
Yeah, if there's going to be one, I think it's probably the Motorsport next.
Although, interestingly, they did drop the title, the number from the last release.
It was like a reboot.
So they went as high as Forza Motorsport 7. Then they stopped, and that was in 2017. They did Forza Horizon 4 and 5. Then they went just back to Forza Motorsport. Could that suggest they are just viewing this as a platform now?
Potentially, yeah. And like, I guess back to the points I've just made is I'm happy for it to remain as a platform and just get seasonal content.
Yeah.
And we've seen Xbox arguably do it the best with the likes of Sea of Thieves and stuff, and Minecraft, and just make them into a platform. So yeah, if Forza is just there and you just get a new suite of cars drop every time every time a new Formula 1 season kicks off, you get a new slate of vehicles from there, then that seems like in tandem with Game Pass. I'm sure Xbox would rather just have the game on Game Pass and you drop a 20 quid yearly content for a season boost, then yeah, right? Everyone wins. You don't have to develop a whole new game. You use the same engine and tools that you're familiar with. The players get new, fresh content drip fed to them on a seasonal basis. Then, yeah, I think you could be onto something there with that little mini name refresh there.
Yeah, just like if you do it, because you look at how like things like Fortnite can show how a game can just become a platform, and just with continuous support, you can maybe put different game modes in there, new tracks, new cars. There's lots of stuff you can do. I
like it.
Yeah, me too. Sea of Thieves, Do you think is Rare now just a Sea of Thieves studio, or have they got anything else they're working on?
Well, they've got Everwild. Sorry.
Yeah, a game I always forget they're doing, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, it's more of like a little, seemingly like an indie spin-off style title. It doesn't. I don't think it's going to be like. I mean, Rare aren't known for like insanely massive open world games, are they? Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in October 2024, Everwild was reported as going well with parts of the game in playable form, so it feels like, to me, that's a while out.
Yeah, I mean, they have the money. Let's face it, Sea of Thieves is bringing in the loot and the treasure for them.
Yeah, remember, once upon a time, Rare were the video game studio, weren't they? Yeah. You look at the N64, and most of the games that you love on that platform were either Nintendo or Rare.
Yeah, I mean, Everwild was shown off 4 years ago, wasn't it?
So, was it 4 years ago?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Everwild Eternals trailer, yeah. Game showcase July 4 years ago, so... You know what, it could be. This could be the one that they talk about, the developer direct.
It could be, because they did say the development had been rebooted.
Yeah.
So it was ways off, scheduled for approximately 2023. That was apparently from Jeff Grubb in a live stream back in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that Obsidian can get 4 games out and Rare just support Sea of Thieves and do this. So maybe we can see an Everwild update at the developer direct.
Indeed. Moving on to Undead Labs and State of Decay 3. Is it time to get a date?
I think so. I think it recently was delayed, right, internally, but State of Decay 2 came out a while ago. I think we see this one this summer. I really do. Yeah.
Do you think it's set to come out this summer, or do you think we're going to hear about it this summer?
I think it's set to come out this summer. I think we've seen enough of it, and State of Decay is not lying to itself. It knows what it is. We know what it is. I think it's seemingly from the trailer and the way people talk about it, it's just ready to go.
I have news, actually. I found a GameRant article that says Microsoft thought about releasing State of Decay 3 in 2025, but the video game giant has apparently decided to launch the game in 2026 instead. Any
context for that, or just any sources?
It's rumours. I wouldn't be surprised, because as you mentioned, Microsoft want these kind of these quarterly games.
You don't want to overdo it, do you, and waste your window.
And the year that we have Grand Theft Auto coming out,
yeah,
which is not Xbox, but will be on Xbox and be big for every platform it's on.
Yeah.
So you can almost see that as a fifth pillar, because it's going to be that big.
If they sit on it and move on to other things, potentially. But just looking at State of Decay 3, it was announced in 2020.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago now. The last comments from the leadership team said, our ambition is to make the greatest survival zombie sim in the franchise. To do so, we'll be shifting our focus and resources to making the upcoming third installment. Many are naturally wondering when it will come out, but Undead Labs isn't ready, saying more information will come at a later time. Thank you for your continued support. And then a 2024 dev diary published on October 31st said the video confirmed there were relatively small teams for State of Decay 2, but State of Decay 3 has a much larger studio size. So it seems like they've scaled up, and they've had 4 years going into year 5 now. I think that sounds about the right cycle for the type of game it is. So unless it is ready and they do just want it on next year's slate instead of this year's slate, I think we'll either see it this summer or next, probably January, February.
This might be a game where Microsoft are looking at it and going, you know what? It's not going to be the game that's going to get... It's going to be a very good game to have in our library, but it's not going to be how they're looking at probably things like Avowed or Doom the Dark Ages. Maybe this is the game where if you guys are ready to go, cool. Keep working on it, polish whatever you want to polish. Start working on the next project, and if something shifts, we can push you up.
Yeah,
it's not a bad strategy to have. Where you go, you know,
just have it in flex.
We have it in hand. Let's say, I don't know, Doom the Dark Ages gets pushed back, and suddenly you've got a slot in your thing. Push it in there. get something out, so you keep in that content coming, or you can bring out next year as potentially planned. It's not a bad strategy really, as long as the studio can afford it.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, the benefit to the Game Pass model, is that once it's out, it's in the catalogue anyway.
Yeah.
So everything is going to be there as and when it's ready.
Yeah. Moving on to the World's Edge. Are we seeing more Age of Empires or something else?
Yeah. I mean, they've done Age of Mythology retold now. They've done Age of Empires 1, 2, 3 remastered. 4's a new game. I mean, we saw more Age of Empires content drop this just before Christmas. Was it the Greek one or something? I can't remember what faction it was. But yeah, Age of Empires is just timeless. So I guess if it's only a small team, just unless they've got any ideas for a new major entry, I don't know about you. I can't think of any other IP that needs a remake, a reboot. So I think just support and grow now. I'm
not thinking of a remake or reboot. I'm thinking this isn't a case of Age of Empires is awesome. We don't need a new Age of Empires anymore at the moment. There's plenty there. You could do an Age of Mythology 2, or you could take another IP that's owned by Microsoft and do a real-time strategy game based around it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Fallout.
Or
Halo.
Halo Wars, right, is the RTS version of Halo, which everyone praises, but we've never really played.
But this is the advantage where I think when you're working as part of a family of studios, you potentially have access to their IP. And it's like, if you're doing a real-time strategy, you're not going to really bump up against anything else they're doing with their IP. I think it might give the studio a chance to flex the muscles a bit, do something a bit different that isn't just Age of Empires, Age of Mythology.
Yeah. I think you're right. Wasn't the original Fallout was a lot closer to an RTS, wasn't it? Than
it was a top down. It's similar to a Baldur's Gate, that kind of style. I think I've never actually played it. Or you could go a different way.
Quite well.
You could go Doom. Imagine a Doom RTS.
Yeah. I mean, when the IP's got the lore that all of these ones we spoke about have, you could do anything with them, really.
Call of Duty.
I mean, yes, but no. Not so much. I think it needs to be fantasy to have lore. It needs to be more fantasy-based.
Yeah, probably. But there's nothing stopping them,
There isn't, but could you imagine a Call of Duty RTS game? What would the world even think of that?
I wouldn't do Call of Duty. If I was going to go something like that, I'm more lean towards something like Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
But you just need any IP where there's a handful of clear, obvious factions that operates differently to each other, so there's enough uniqueness in the gameplay that would work in the real time. Fallout could actually work with things like the base building.
Yeah.
And you're upgrading what materials you build your base out, and that's how you upgrade your health
3D
and stuff.
Fallout shell.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So Arcane Leon, Chris.
They're working on Blade, right?
Yeah.
It feels too early. I don't know why. I think because the trailer was just very much a teaser. If you remember, he was in the barber chair, right? And then some shit popped off outside, and he was like, "Oh," he showed his little vampire tooth, and then he was like, "Oh, don't worry, barber man, you're okay." And then it cut to the logo, and it was like, we haven't seen that much of it, so I think it's been a few years since Deathloop now, but I don't know. It just feels one that's maybe another year out.
True, yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit back. It was December 2023, I think it was announced.
Yeah. I think save this for the showcase in the summer. Maybe go big on this summer and say confirm 2026, because they didn't give a date or a time frame on it, so they've got no commitment. But yeah, show a bit more off of it. Shows how cool Blade is. Show some maybe combat, and then go 2026, and then just let people get hyped over that.
Yeah.
And Deathloop 2, I think, could be a thing, but let's see how well Blade does before they probably... I don't think they're going to do Deathloop 2 until Blade either does well or doesn't.
I'm not sure we'll see Deathloop 2. I think Deathloop was a unique, interesting experience.
It did feel like it. Yeah.
It was an awesome game, but it's what do you do with a 2?
Yeah.
And then you're just revisiting the well for the sake of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a game that needs to be a continuous IP. Yeah.
I mean, if like a Deathloop, it's just time travel and you just go back and play the same game. They could just re-release Deathloop 1 and tell people it's Deathloop 2, but because it's a loop,
true.
You'll never know.
Talking about
marketing.
Talking about time travel, it's software went back to the Dark Ages. Doom the Dark Ages.
I can't wait for this one. This is the first Doom game that I'm excited for because I've played some of Doom 2016, sorry.
Yeah.
Played a little bit of Doom Eternal on the channel, but I've never been into them enough as I probably am now. I think you and me have now settled into our Xbox library. We're a lot more familiar with the franchises and what to expect. But the trailer for Dark Ages just looks so sick. I was like, the music, the frenetic energy, the combat. And again, thanks to Game Pass, it was like, I get it day one. So it's like, yeah, hell yeah, give it to me, id. Give it to me.
Yep, 100%.
How about you?
I think this is going to be the biggest game Xbox release this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't really see anything else that we know that's this year beating it, really.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a date soon. I think at the Direct we will get a date for this game.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a focus point at the Direct, so yeah, I think it gets dated 100%.
And I think it's back end of the year. But I think we get it.
It seems like it would fit there. October, like Halloween time, October, I think would be a good date for it.
Machine Games, I don't think we're hearing anything.
I mean, they're working on the port of Indiana Jones over to PlayStation 5, I'd imagine now.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the Ultimate Edition. They said spring, so that could be any time from next month onwards. Do you think it'll get DLC? It's got Game of the Year awards now. Do you think they're sitting there going like, we could tell some more stories in this world?
I've not played it. Do you think there's more to tell from that game? Or do you think a new story is a new game?
I think because of the way the story pans out and the way the game is structured with these like mini open worlds to explore, they could easily just add another character into one of those little worlds and as DLC go back to Egypt and find this person. And then, like video games being the magic that they are, you could just go into another tomb and there's a whole other world underground that didn't exist in the previous game, but the devs can just fabricate it in that world. And then there you've got another 5 puzzles to solve, a fun little side story with Indy and one of the characters you meet along the way. And it just adds an extra bit to maybe the Game of the Year edition that's going to launch on PS5.
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually.
It doesn't need it, but I think it could benefit from it.
If they've got a couple of puzzle ideas, a few ideas for content that they kind of scrapped because they didn't necessarily need them in the base game, you could do something like that. But I'd also say maybe save stuff for a sequel.
Yeah.
If you've got some cool ideas, like why... Oh, I think if you're going to do DLC for something like this, I think you probably want to focus more on the story DLC. So then you'd have to really almost have like a short story to tell, or just write the next game. I feel like not every game needs DLC. Again, I haven't played it, so I might go play Indiana Jones and come back and go, no, that game needs DLC once I have. But
yeah, I think
I have just watched all the films, so
you're primed for it. I'm telling you, you're primed.
It's almost as if it was intentional.
A new Wolfenstein game, I think we will get, but I just don't think anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think the franchise is one of them where if it comes out 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the audience will show up for it regardless. I don't think timeline's that big of a problem with Wolfenstein. Yeah.
I wonder, though, because Indiana Jones did so well, does that become the focus for Machine Games going forward?
Quite possibly,
kind of shelve Wolfenstein for a bit? Because Wolfenstein has been going for a long time.
Yeah.
You can just put that on the shelf for 10 years and be fine, as you mentioned.
I agree.
So I'm not expecting any new Wolfenstein stuff, unless it's already in development.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We won't hear anything from them, I don't think, though.
ZeniMax, it's going to be Elder Scrolls Online. I've probably new expansion, I reckon. Not going to go. Neither of us play. Not going to get into that now because we do need to start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Elsewhere Entertainment.
Who knows? New studio, new game, new IP. Don't know the size of the studio. Don't really know much about it other than Microsoft announced like last summer sometime. Not only have we bought several studios this past year, we're also making our own internally. I think it was from ex-Call of Duty devs. I'm not too sure. There's that many spin-off people now who make studios. It's hard to track them all until they actually get something out. There must be about 15 devs out there, studios, who formed in the last 5 years from the remnants of a massive AAA studio. And we saw Callisto Protocol from the Dead Space folks. And you know what I mean? I feel like there's loads of little pockets. You've got Judas, who's getting made by the Bioshock people. But you know what? We haven't seen them yet. They've all just been announced and said they're working on the next AAA whatever. But we haven't actually seen it. Amy Hennig with her Skydance Studios thing. It's been announced, but we don't know what this Black Panther Captain America thing looks like yet. So there's a lot of fire, coals. Is it stoked in the fire? What do you say? Irons in the fire?
A lot of irons in the fire.
But like Elsewhere Entertainment, until you actually show me something from them, it's just a name.
Yeah, we haven't got a clue what to expect. And just because it's potentially made up of former Call of Duty devs doesn't mean they're going to be going first-person shooter. They may have left to form a studio because they were done with they maybe felt like they're creatively done with a first-person shooter. So
it's a chess game.
Yeah, it's not worth even speculating on. No. Let's cover the Call of Duty studios as a single block. Infinity Ward, Raven Software, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch. Obviously, they're all going to be working on Call of Duty. Which one comes first?
I don't even know now, because Raven traditionally does Warzone now.
Yeah.
But they also did the campaign for the last Black Ops 6. So you would imagine Raven, you have to start figuring out the story for the Call of Duty game for 3 years' time and support Warzone's content. The ones who did last year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which was poorly received, was Sledgehammer. So they, in theory, should be now into year 2 of their 3-year cycle. So this year should be Infinity Ward, by the way things go. Because Treyarch did Black Ops 6, so we should be round to Infinity Ward, and their last entry was Modern Warfare 2 reboot, which is obviously well received, but it was still a reboot. So,
is it time for a new Call of Duty strand? I know they tried with Ghosts and didn't really work.
We had Advanced Warfare.
Again, that was only a one and done. Mm-hmm. But it's only really Black Ops and Modern Warfare.
Call of Duty Medieval Warfare.
Yeah. Maybe go back to the well and go back to World War II.
I think it's about time.
World at War, which was kind of the one that came out after Call of Duty for Modern Warfare, was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And maybe it is time to go back to that. It for a while felt like World War II first-person shooters were played out, but we haven't had any really in decades.
No. Because we had Cold War, which was the nearest we got with all that. But you're right. It needs something new. It does need something because we're getting to a point where it's like the next Black Ops is Black Ops 7. It's like how many times do you keep going with this?
I think World at War was Treyarch, actually.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
But there's no reason why you couldn't hand that over to Infinity Ward. Yeah.
It'll basically roll the dice and we'll get a Call of Duty this October. And it'll be great, no doubt.
Oh, there's the interesting thing, though, under Microsoft. Are they loosening up the deadline so they don't have to hit this absolute cadence of whatever a new Call of Duty every single year?
I don't think they will. I think there was an article that Microsoft said we're just going to keep doing what we're doing for now. Because let's face it, it's their moneymaker, guaranteed.
Yeah. Blizzard, obviously World of Warcraft support. Anything else interesting?
I mean, Diablo was last year, so there's no new, maybe Diablo content, and I think it's just support for now. World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, just don't rock the boat, just settle down.
No, rock the boat. Give me a Warcraft free. I want that bot, or maybe StarCraft free, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they'll obviously have something in the works, but I think this will be a quiet year for Blizzard, all things said and done.
As much as I want a Warcraft free, it's not happening. I know it's not happening.
Do you want more Candy Crush?
No. But people do because it makes a hell of a lot of money. So
it does.
And I do want some more Toys for Bob, though.
Yeah, again, I think we don't know what that is, but Toys for Bob was part of the Fest Pie. They went independent last year, and then they struck a deal with Microsoft, which seems like there's such a backwards way of doing things. Microsoft don't want to support them, but all the people who work there go, well, can we go independent? It's like, we'll cut ties with you, but you can stay solvent. And then they come back to Microsoft and go, we've got a great idea for a game. Microsoft go, make that for us. You do wonder, just like, why didn't that just all happen internal? Why all the convoluted back and forth and independence? But either way, I think we're getting a Spyro game. I think it's a safe way for Microsoft to get another entry. I think we got the Crash 4 game, came out a couple of years ago now. I think Toys for Bob are so well versed in this 3D puzzle retro platformers that Spyro's due as flowers. I think that little dragon needs a brand new adventure.
Oh, 100%.
Toys for Bob, no wants to get it. But that's 26 studios for Xbox first party, and then one little side hustle with Toys for Bob,
which is kind of Xbox. It's second party at the moment, really. Yeah. Because for all we know is we assume they're working on Spyro. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got Kojima as well doing. Is it Physinked?
Oh,
I can't remember what it was called. Physic. I can't remember what it was called. But Kojima's got that. No, it's not.
It's not.
Judas is Ken Levine. He's got Physink and he's got OD and Death Stranding.
It's OD I was thinking of,
but that's not Xbox exclusive, where I think Physink or Physint is. That's the cloud gaming one that he's talked about for a few years now.
Yeah.
So you'll get some confusion shit from Kojima at some point.
Yeah, at some point. God knows when. I think we don't really hear much more about them until after Death Stranding 2 comes out.
Jeff Keighley will have them on stage to talk about it, no doubt. And then and then there's the little story from this week, Richie, that we are getting some Xbox games reportedly going over to Switch 2.
Yeah, I'm thinking we leave this is potential speculation for that for next week when we cover what Nintendo might be up to.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. Yeah.
Because it's hard. Nintendo don't have as many studios, so it's we can revisit the wealth of the Xbox studios.
Yeah.
But that, Chris, I believe, is all we have time for this week, and we like to end every show with visiting this game in video game history. So, January the 11th, what have we got?
Not much.
Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube?
I was going to say, the original Resident... Did it launch on GameCube first? Was that like where Resident Evil rocked up?
No.
Because I know the reboots and stuff were, but Resident Evil 4, 20 years ago on the original GameCube. SimCity 4, 22 years ago on PC. Are we do a new SimCity some point soon? Like in between the city skylines...
I don't know. I think I don't think SimCity's a thing anymore.
It'll be EA, won't it?
Yeah, it's EA at the moment. But when was the last SimCity? Last SimCity game was 2013.
Which was
SimCity. It's just SimCity.
All right. So not much.
I don't.
41 years ago on the NES in 1984, we got tennis.
Just tennis. Back when games are simple.
Yeah. Shout out as well to 14th of January, 22 years ago, War of the Monsters.
Indeed.
Played War of the Monsters. It's a great little game.
We are still in this kind of quiet period of the year.
Yeah. But nothing's coming out.
Nope. Hopefully stuff will start coming out probably in February, because that is all we have time for. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure if you haven't already liked the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all fantastic content. Follow us on socials at GamerGuildTV everywhere. We have a Discord. The link is in the description below. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.